And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who is ready to unleash his Tyler Huntley hot takes. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Tyler Huntley didn't quite work out like they were hoping. I think that's my hot take.
Yes, scorcher hot take to start off the show here. Kyle, you're going no hat here, rocking the dyed hair.
Yep, blonde hair is out. Maybe one of the last few times you see it, but we'll make it work, and we're going to enjoy it while it's here.
Yes. Also, sorry to everyone for us a weird time. We like to keep people on their toes. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to show up at the end of this podcast, being like, "Okay, ready for the show to start, guys."
Yeah. Just had to adjust a little bit for this week. Sorry to mess it up, but we'll be back at it next week too.
Hey, it would be weird if we've done like 4 shows in a row at the same time. Like we were due for mixing it up.
Yeah, that's fair. I got some stuff we got to do at the end of the month too, so we'll figure that out.
Okay, yeah. Again, we're always, sometimes have to work around certain things. But Kyle, we have a lot to get to here. My browser was giving me a little bit of trouble for a second. We have a lot to get to. Do you want to jump into the Monday night games?
Yeah. Let's get right into it. One not so exciting game, and then one pretty exciting game, even though the scoreline didn't end up pretty close. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with. I think I definitely want to start with the Seahawks Lions, so let's do that one. The game that was I think worth talking about. This was a good game. I don't know. Am I a hater for not loving this game?
What didn't you love about it?
I don't need to see offense. Not to be the whole old head everyone scored, but everyone scoring on every drive isn't my ideal football.
Yeah. Although we haven't seen that a lot this season outside of last Monday night and this Monday night. So
sure. And what helps is the way the Lions score is the most exciting way possible. So that makes it more fun.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty exciting. I mean, not only that, we had the David Montgomery play and the Kenneth Walker play. I watched those both 1,000 times, just like crazy. Yeah. But no, the thing is this was this was more than we expected from the Lions offense, to be fair, but we wanted to see this Lions offense kind of put itself into a high gear and show us what they can do, because it had been a little sleepy, it felt like, the first 3 weeks. This was a wake-up call. This was impressive. This was a dominant performance, and they did everything really well. They threw the ball well, they ran the ball well, they did everything well in this game, and that was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with the Lions through the first 3 weeks was everything has hit exactly the way you want it to hit. Things are going perfectly, and yet Jared Goff is the one thing where he's taken a step back. Why is he playing poorly? Hard to have too many critiques with him when he technically incompleted pass, but it was called back due to offensive penalties. So on the stat sheet, no incompletions here. Hard to have too many critiques when you're 18 for 18.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers is staggering enough. Looking at this from the Seahawks ran 78 total plays, right? They were 60% on third down. They averaged 7.5 plays per drive. They chewed up time of possession, all that kind of stuff, and it didn't really matter. The Lions scored 42 because, they maximized every play. They had 8.1 yards per play. They were 0.485 EPA per play as an offense. That's absurd. It was just absurd numbers, and it's absurd to look at all that stuff and see, okay, the Seahawks could have had the ball for 50 minutes and the Lions still might have won. That was how impressive their performance was on offense.
Yeah, I think there's the one Jameson Williams long touchdown right after. They were scoring at will. It felt like this is the Lions of old and then some. What did the Lions do to opposing quarterbacks? I feel like every single time they play, the opposing quarterback is having their best game of the season.
Yeah, I don't know.
Geno Smith was very good in this one.
Yeah, he's been good all year though.
He has.
I think he's been really strong this year. I think he's been, he's been better than several quarterbacks that would probably be ranked above him regularly. That's kind of my opinion. I think he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, probably in the top 10 start this season, and I think he had another good game. I think that's the thing. I don't have the defense played bad. Like at the same time, we praise the Lions offense, all that kind of stuff. Like if you're giving up 8 yards per play, you're not doing something right defensively. And maybe this is just a show of like Seattle's a good team, but this may just be like there's a gap between them and the best in the NFC. But like I think this team can score. They can definitely move the ball, and I think they've shown through these first 4 weeks that Geno and this offense are kind of humming with Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK Metcalf.
Yeah, no, just to be clear, it wasn't meant as it's like a wow, even Geno Smith's playing well. It was meant as like a Geno Smith who's a good player is having like his best game of the season, I thought, in this one.
Yeah. He dominated the Patriots, but that's a different class of opponent.
Not by much.
You think so?
I think, well, hey, Patriots favored to win this week. Let's go to the other game. We'll talk more about these teams as we get further into this. Titans-Dolphins. Again, I don't know how much we need to spend on this. There was, to me, the big highlight was the big play at the end of the game where there was an onside kick that was a punt. And then it went too far, meaning that it was a penalty. It seemed like no one really knew exactly what was going on. You had the special teams coordinator yelling at the player, even though it ended up working out for the Titans. A lot of chaos there. Neither quarterback, there were 3 quarterbacks played in this game. None of them had over 100 yards on today. If you combine Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, they did technically have 110 yards total. So there's that. We saw Mason Rudolph here. And they won, so I guess there's maybe some truth to maybe Rudolph should be quarterback 1, although they have said that Levis still will be quarterback 1. Kyle, I don't have a ton on this game. Do you have anything?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This Miami thing, like, I don't know, like. I just keep looking at this team, and like we've said, this team had like a little mini window here, and like I don't know. I kind of think that window's closed. Like this is not a Tua. This team isn't a Tua away from winning a Super Bowl or competing for a Super Bowl. Like I don't see the path for this team, given what we've seen these last couple of weeks, to winning it all with even Tua on the field.
Kyle, if Tua doesn't come back this year, this team could be competing for the first overall pick. Jalen Phillips has now had poor Jalen Phillips. Injuries have just completely derailed his career. He's out for the season with an ACL. This is who would have thought a team that most people thought was still like a playoff contender. Like they could legitimately be first overall pick contender if Tua is out for the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's too many issues. The defense looks like it's taking a regression. I mean, the numbers aren't that bad this week, but like I don't think it looks awesome all the time still. And then I mean this quarterback situation is just horrible. It's horrible right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before, so we don't need to do it again. But prioritize backup quarterbacks. That's important.
Yeah, like getting Mason Rudolph.
He did enough, I guess. You know?
I guess so. I think that was his slogan when he was with the Steelers. He did enough.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no other real takeaways. I think Dolphins are shockingly bad. I think because this is a team that, like, I'm not the biggest Tua fan, but I also understand what Tua does well, works. But like, I get this is a huge downgrade in quarterback, obviously, with their backups are being as bad as it is. But like, I just feel like all this team's a mess right now.
Kyle, let's get into the pick'em aspect of the show now. Kyle, I clawed back a little bit. I think I gained a point. I had a chance to make it a big week, and I wasn't able to do that. Missed my lock at the end of the week, but clawing back a little bit. Maybe do this, 8 or 9 more weeks, and then I'm in the lead.
Yeah, not my best week. I can't get too mad about it though. Like a couple of the picks I had were just complete blowouts the other way. The Cardinals for one, and what was the other one I had? Oh, the Eagles. That was obviously just a huge miss. I think I just have to reevaluate that team a little bit. The Steelers one, I don't really know what to think. I probably wouldn't have locked them if it was Joe Flacco playing from the start. And then what was the other one I had there? Oh, the Saints. I was on the right side of that. I don't care.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. Kyle, I'm still losing, so therefore I give you a game first. I'm giving you Raiders Broncos.
Yeah, this is a good pick. I have 4 or 5 games that I have pretty high on my list that I'm a little concerned about, but everything else I think is kind of I feel decent about. It's an interesting slate, that's for sure. Man, I both of these pass defenses have played very well. Neither one of these teams throw the ball or run the ball very well. So I'm trying to go which side of this I want to be on. And I think I'm going to lean Raiders just because of I know the Broncos have had 2 gritty wins the last 2 weeks. Bo Nix has played marginally. He played a lot better against Tampa Bay. The weather, I just throw that entire game off the board because of the weather last week. But I still think Bo Nix is more likely to make a mistake than Gardner Minshew, which is saying something. And so I'm just going to say, like, this is going to be an ugly game, and it's going to come down to the turnover battle because neither of these teams can run the football. And I still think Bo Nix is more likely to have a turnover than Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I think they're both likely to, but I agreed. I think, but I mean, I'll say this: Bo Nix done a good job of protecting the football, even in the rain with all the missed throws he had, and he had a lot of missed throws. When I made my video, it's like a 1.5-minute chunk of just missed throws that I played nonstop during it. But he didn't turn the ball over, so there is that. Keyran in the chat says Jackson trying to please the Raiders fans, having them first. Hey, everyone's Team Kyle. I got to get some people on my side. Yeah, I mean, so the Broncos, to me, they just feel like a great secondary, and like that's it. Like that just feels like this team, but you can win some games that way. I do wonder if this Devontae Adams thing, like when does a trade happen? Does he sit out until he's traded? Like, I don't know, because he didn't play last week. That's a factor in all this. I guess the question is, can Gardner Minshew not make mistakes and just run the offense effectively, which he, for the most part, did last week?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's basically the goal. I expect a lot of Brock Bowers in this game, honestly. I think they're going to have to use the middle of the field because I wouldn't throw down the field on the secondary, like you said. And yeah, I think that's going to have to be the game plan for the Raiders. And then the Broncos have to protect against that defensive line for the Broncos have to protect against that defensive line for the Raiders too. So I think it goes both ways. Like I said, I think it's going to be really low scoring because these defenses have played fairly well and the offenses just haven't, outside of the games Gardner has gone off. And I do think that there is that factor that Gardner Minshew does have the ability to kind of make some plays. And I just haven't seen that enough from Denver yet.
No, the Bo Nix slander just won't stop.
He's played one good game. He's got to keep doing it. He's had 3 pretty miserable games around it.
Yeah, and again, asterisk on one of those miserable games, but still, yeah, you're not wrong. And Max Crosby also might not play in this one; it's still up in the air. So again, that's part of why there's turmoil. I had the Raiders as well. That's why I gave you this game first because the Broncos are favored. I could see it going either way, though. Do you want to move on?
Yeah. I'm sticking with, although it worked out for you because you got the Titans right last week. I am in the same boat as you, though. I don't want to pick games with 2 bad teams. I don't want to pick a bad team to win. Dolphins at Patriots.
Okay. Well, I was going to give you a chance to maybe lock up your Patriots. I guess that's not going to happen. That would have been my next pick as well. Again, it similar to last week where it's like, okay, yes, I have picking, last week you gave me Dolphins Titans and I picked the Titans because I just said like, yes, it's scary to pick Will Levis. This is the team that has more talent on it right now. This is the team that just it's constructed how it was supposed to be constructed, for better or worse. The Patriots are the team they were supposed to be heading into the season, right? The Dolphins have so much turmoil right now. You have to pick New England to win this game. Again, the Patriots could blow this, absolutely. But I don't love this. I mean, the Dolphins pass rush hasn't been great. So even though the Patriots have, not a great offensive line, this could be an opportunity to move the ball a little. And again, I just don't trust this Dolphins, offense, especially against the Patriots defense that has shown flashes of being very good. It's been inconsistent, but it has shown flashes of being very good. So yeah, give me New England.
I think it's a justifiable pick. A couple concerns. As bad as the Dolphins pass rush is, I think our offensive line is still worse.
It's possibly true.
So I think they have this kid, Caden Wallace, and, bless his heart, he's trying out there, starting at left tackle from day one as a late round rookie. It's not working out to him. It's not working out too well at all. So this is a really rough offensive line. Plus, David Andrews is now out for the season. So a rough offensive line is getting even worse because he was probably the best offensive lineman.
Oh, no.
There's talk of Ramondre Stevenson being benched because of the fumbling issues. Now, granted, you don't want to put the ball on the ground. He's got to stop fumbling, but he's also been our most explosive offensive player this season, which also says a lot about the Patriots. So
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson has been pretty good in the secondary back role. So him taking over as a starter, I don't know if it changes too much, but that's really tough. And then I just look at like, at least Tennessee has like receivers that you like have to respect. And as much as I like the talent of Jalen Polk, we just can't get him the ball. And I just don't know if he's ready for that sort of role as a number one receiver, maybe ever in his career, but especially not right now in his fifth game. So there are a lot of concerns there. I expect a lot of Hunter Henry to be featured in this game. I think that's the way the Patriots try and move the ball. He's been featured the entire season, honestly. And then, like you said, I do agree. This defense has shown flashes of being very good. I do think Keon White can have a big game in this game against that Miami offensive line as well. And that's probably the hope. But I don't know. This is bad football nobody should enjoy, honestly. This is going to be gross.
Kyle, are you a bit bummed out that you have to watch this game at 1 o'clock? You know, there's the Bills, Texans, the Ravens, Bengals are playing at 1 o'clock. Even Browns, Commanders could be interesting. I know you're going to have multiple screens up. Does it bum you out? One of the screens will have to be on this one.
No, because it's still the Patriots. I'm still going to watch, but man, it's tough. It's just tough.
Kyle, I'm going to be honest. I'm solely relying on you on the Sunday show to tell me what happens in this game. I'm not going to watch. There's only 6 games on one. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Unless it comes down to unless something crazy happens. I'll see what happens on Red Zone. That's it. Let's move on. Kyle, we designed this show so that we get the best games at the beginning of the show, the closest game. But then we just get these. We start off with Raiders, Broncos, and Dolphins, Patriots.
Listen. They're the most competitive games. I don't care if they're good or bad. It's competitive. That's all that matters to me.
That's true.
I got another competitive game for you.
Well, hold on. It's my turn to pick.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, yes. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Hey, usually I'm the one who does that, so I'm happy to be on the other side.
Well, we all make mistakes. I haven't made much mistakes this season with my picks, but let's keep going.
Right. I'm giving you Bills Texans. This is a good game. We're finally getting into it. Who do you got?
Buffalo, lock it up. Let's go.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been on the side that the Texans don't look right this season. I think they've been okay. I think CJ Stroud and Nico Collins have been terrific, and Stephon Diggs, honestly. I think those 3 guys have been really good. I think the rest of the Texans have not been very good. I think they've made too many mistakes. I think they've made coaching mistakes. I think DeMeco Ryans is playing way too conservative with the way his offense has talent. I think the offensive line is committing penalties just for fun at this point, making it even more difficult for these receivers that have been very good. So outside of CJ Stroud and the Texans receivers, which can attack this Buffalo secondary, I think Buffalo has an advantage in almost every other aspect of this game, and they've looked good this season. So give me the Bills, give me the lock. I think they win this one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Texans. So first off, I just got burned locking up the Bills last week. It did not go well. So I was definitely making sure I stayed away here. I don't hate the lock. I think there's some logic behind it. My concern is we talk about this Bills secondary being very good, but over the middle they haven't covered particularly well. Especially the linebackers and the safeties have not done a great job. This Texan scheme is so much built around being able to beat up on that aspect. I do have some concerns if the Bills try, could there be potential for Houston attacking the Bills over the middle?
There's a potential for it for sure. And yeah, I do think that the Texans do have the ability to move the ball on this team, but is it going to be consistently enough? And are they not going to commit penalties enough to I still think as much as Bills have struggled in certain aspects defensively, and this team's obviously not going to run all over them like Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson did. While I still think they had some concerns defensively, I still like them if Houston's going to put itself in second and third and longs because of dumb penalties. So I think all that kind of goes hand in hand. I do think the Texans can move the ball, and obviously it's not a zero shot the Texans win this game. They're still a talented team, and those receivers just are, as I said, just legit in the way Diggs is playing. So I do think there is concerns, but I don't know. I just think it's the vibes are okay in Houston. They've winning games, but not convincingly. And I don't think the teams they've beaten are very good. And I think Buffalo has beaten good teams and looked good this season, despite what the Ravens game was Sunday night. So I just think it's a Buffalo play here.
Listen, I don't hate the lock. I think it's a solid one. I do think for Houston though, this is the big time like show me what you got game of like if they can win this one. I think we're all kind of I could be wrong, but I think we're all kind of viewing Houston as like okay, they have the potential to be this like top tier team, but I don't view them the same way I view Baltimore or Buffalo, and certainly not Kansas City at this point. If they win this game, I think they're now in that tier.
Yeah. They would have to they at least can show it, right? They have the opportunity here to prove to us they can do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's played like a very average team. And like, I want to see a little bit more before I'm putting them with the big boys. I absolutely agree. So, and then I think the strength of this Houston defense has been the edge rushers. They've been very good this season. They've invested in that and it's paid off very well. This Bengals offensive line has been very good, and Josh Allen is incredibly good at buying time. So I have a little too much concern on both sides of the ball.
All right. Well, let's move on then. Kyle, give me a game.
Another thing I don't like to do, pick games in Europe. We have a London game this week. Jets at Vikings. I'm jumping off. I'm not jumping off. I'm still on the Vikings are a bandwagon, but this is a tough spot, and traveling overseas, I think everything kind of goes crazy. So who do you got here?
Yeah, I have to, on the little banner, I have to put Jets versus Vikings because it's technically not at. I guess it is technically at, but whatever. This is a good one. This one is one I can see going either way. I'm going to go Minnesota here. It's crazy how we all talked about how well the Jets, really easy start to the season once they get past that first game. But now all of a sudden the Vikings have turned into like a legitimate threat. I don't know if the Jets are going to get open like at all in this game. I really don't. This Vikings coverage has been so good, and the way they can man up against opposing receivers. I mean, we just saw last week with Denver. Again, we can say what we want about the weather, but guys weren't getting open either. Like there were some other aspects, and I get field conditions, all that. But I mean, guys weren't getting open against Tennessee. So I'm worried about that for the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers played very well this season. I don't think he's the issue at all. There is some irony in him coming over here and having a lot of issues just with the Jets as a whole. I think the hope, if you're a Jets fan, is this Jets coverage has still been really good. And I think the hope is, could we start to see, this is the real test for Minnesota. Granted, they keep passing test after test after test. So there's they got A+ right now, but I still do think that this is yet another test. I got to be honest though. I just like this Kevin O'Connell matchup against Robert Saleh. I'm not going to lock it up, but I feel okay about picking Minnesota here.
Yeah, I would too. Like I said, I just think those overseas games can get weird. I think it is interesting. I'm prefacing this with saying Sam Darnold has played terrifically this season. He has passed with flying colors. I'm not going to apologize for previous performance. He was bad previously when we criticized him. He's now playing very, very well. He has made some high-risk throws, and especially high-risk throws with the sole goal of spamming Justin Jefferson, which isn't a bad strategy. However, that means you're throwing on Sauce Gardner in high-risk situations, right? And this Jet secondary is very good. So I think that's a tough thing. That's a tough play. And so I do think there is some risk to that. And I absolutely think that they, the Jets can take a few balls away, because I do think the one thing that Aaron Rodgers will do, and I agree with you, he has played well this season. Last week, again, there was miscommunication on a lot of those plays too, but the weather was obviously crazy. He is still a risk-averse quarterback. He's not going to take any big chances. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way. So if Sam Darnold does turn the ball over, then that is kind of advantage Jets, because we know Aaron Rodgers isn't.
What a game for the London one. What a way to wake up in the morning. Yeah.
If you told us like 2 years ago, Vikings Jets, you probably wouldn't be very excited. Now look at this.
Yeah, the Vikings were okay 2 years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. That's fair.
Kirk Cousins, but not like exciting.
Yeah, it was Kirk Cousins. How excited can you get about Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I don't know. He got very excited one time.
Yeah, we know.
Like yeah. Kyle, do you have any more thoughts on this one?
No, I agree with everything you said. I do feel good about the Vikings play here. They are still a wagon in my eyes, but I don't know if the wagon goes over seeds.
Okay, yeah, we'll see. That's the Super Bowl contender, Minnesota Vikings. Can they go to 5-0? Big win for the Jets if they can get it. Kyle, my turn to give you a game. I'm gonna go Colts Jaguars. This is one where I think that quite frankly, these are again, it's kind of becoming a trend this show. Two teams I don't want to have to pick.
Yeah, this was next on my list. I kind of felt the same way, but I am going to lean Indianapolis.
Okay.
I thought the defense looked a little better last week. Obviously, the Texans still moved the ball and ended up getting that win. I thought it looked a little bit better, though. I think that is something that signs of progress. And, I don't think Joe Flacco playing is the worst thing to happen because he's another one that I think he knows what he's doing when he gets back there. He's going to let the playmakers do their thing. And I think that's what Indianapolis needed. They needed to let Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor go out and do their thing. And they did that last week, and I think they can do it again this week. Jacksonville, I still think, has a plenty of talent on paper to win this game, but they're just finding every way to lose right now. And, yeah, I'm going to lean Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by this line, to be honest. The Jaguars are 2.5-point favorites. I do think the Jaguars are better than their record shows. Like, I think this is a close. I think that the talent is pretty close between these two teams. Like I said, I think there's a lot of talent on this Colts offense. I still. I mean, I believe Richardson's going to play in this game. That's how I'm expecting this to go. Again. Like he I don't think has played great to start the season. Like he's made some great plays, but he also puts the ball in harm's way. And Jacksonville, for all their faults defensively, have players who can make big plays. So I do think they should be able to pass protect pretty well in this one. So hopefully they can get time to push the ball down the field. But yeah, I mean, I'm also just interested in this Colts defense. Can it finally kind of get right against Jaguars offense that seemingly will look great for a drive or two and then just kind of fade into punting every drive.
Yeah, they've really struggled this season. Would you feel better about the Colts if Richardson or Flacco plays? Right, just this week.
This week Flacco. I think Flacco is the better quarterback right now. Like he's going to give you a higher floor, but like obviously they should still start Richardson because he has the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I think I agree. But either way, I still think the Colts. It's hard to really talk yourself into betting on this Jaguars team right now, right? Like they just not only have they not looked good, they haven't played well. The offense has been a mess, like you said, outside of a random drive or two, and there's been a couple awesome Trevor Lawrence throws a game, but then there's also just like these haywire plays that make no sense. So yeah, I can't talk myself into it right now.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Again, another game I don't think I'm going to spend forever on. Kyle, why don't you give me a game?
All right, another marquee game. Divisional rivalry. I think it's still fascinating. One of these teams is a little more desperate than the other right now. Let's go Ravens at Bengals.
All right, Ravens, Bengals. Yeah, so two teams that I feel like are good teams that have very poor records right now. The 1-3 Bengals, the 2-2 Ravens, and yet I think these are two teams that like would either of us be shocked if they're in the AFC Championship game? I think it'd be a little surprised if Cincinnati, given how their defense is playing, but not shocked. Joe Burrow's been great this year, and Lamar's been great this year. I mean, these are two quarterbacks who could win MVP. That I feel pretty strongly about. It's weird where neither one of these defenses has been as good as we expected. The Ravens defense has still been solid, and it had a really good week last week against Buffalo. So they're kind of finding their groove a bit. It's tough because I feel like the Bengals could start to find their own groove as well. And I mean, we've seen this before, right? Where Cincinnati, and now that I'm kind of talking through it, I almost wish I gave you this game earlier because where Cincinnati, their receivers just kind of dominate this Ravens secondary. The Ravens like to play man coverage so they can kind of mix things up in terms of the pressure. You can't really do that against Cincinnati. So that's an issue. I just think the Ravens offense is going too strong right now. So I'm going to pick Baltimore, but there's absolute upset potential to 2.5-point underdog home team Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Especially with my hot, I don't know if it's a hot take. My take for this game is this game's going to be a lot high scoring than we think. We typically think AFC North. These are usually tough-minded defensive games. We usually think of these two teams as good defensive teams. However, like you said, the Bengals defense has been a mess, especially the run defense. I think losing DJ Reader has proven to be a much bigger deal than we thought. And the Ravens pass defense has been kind of a mess too. Like you said, it did play much better last week, but this is Jamar Chase and now T. Higgins healthy coming into the fold. I think that's a lot different of a matchup. So I think both of these teams might be able to move the ball. But I think with the combination of the way Henry and Jackson are playing and the defensive line of the Bengals and their kind of performance just so far this season, I think it is I still think I'm leading Ravens here.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, the Ravens are third in EPA per play offensively. The Bengals are fourth. So, I mean, these are two really good offensive units. The issue is obviously there's a huge disparity in defense. The Bengals currently a bottom 5 rush EPA defense. That's not a good stat when you're going up against the Ravens. It worked out okay for Kansas City in the conference championship game, but usually that's not the case.
Yeah. Usually that is not the case. And I don't know. It's gonna have to take. I mean, like Kansas City in the conference championship game, it's gonna have to take a couple wacky mistakes. I think probably from Lamar Jackson and maybe Zay Flowers,
or just a couple. I mean, also like in that game when Mahomes made a couple plays to Travis Kelce, it's like it might just be that too. You might just need a Jamar Chase play or two in here, which is totally within the cards.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's I do think it's a fascinating game, and like the Bengals need to start racking up some wins. So I'd say I think it's a very much Bengals got to play desperate in this game. I think they need to turn this thing around a lot sooner. I know they got to win last week, but they got to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then, Kyle. I'm gonna give you the thumbnail game, Cowboys Steelers.
This was next on my list that was available. This is another tough one for me. I'm going to lean. It screwed me last week, but I'm going to lean Pittsburgh. I think I have a tough time seeing Dallas get open. I know CeeDee Lamb had a good week last week, and I think it's the same thing. I think he's going to be able to do his thing. I'm concerned about the rest of Dallas getting open and doing enough stuff to give Dak Prescott enough time to make throws. So I think Dak has been very good this season. I think CeeDee Lamb has been very good this season. Outside of that, I don't think a lot has been very good this season for Dallas. So I think that this Pittsburgh defense could overwhelm them a little bit, and that's where I'm going Steelers.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. I mean, Kyle, I was thinking about this. I think your record on picking Steelers games has to be like 1 in 40. Like I feel like every whatever it is, because the Steelers are just so difficult. Well, you got one earlier this season, but I feel like they're the most difficult team to pick in the sport because they win games they shouldn't win, they lose games they shouldn't lose. Like they're incredibly difficult to project. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, like, listen, we can sit here and talk about all we want about how this Cowboys team is just CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. That could still do some damage. And the way the Steelers like to play is we're going to slow the game down. We're going to run the ball a lot. We're going to not take any chances, not turn the ball over. You're going to be the team that makes mistakes. If the Cowboys can get a big play or two, I think that's their way of having success. And we saw it against the Colts, which was the Steelers had to not play Steelers football. They had to play something else. And to their credit, they did that very well. But that's still not what they want to do. Dallas has issues. Really good offensive line, although the tackles haven't been very good. So I guess that's the concern. I mean, that's something you have to look at. Is Tyler Guyton against TJ Watt does not seem like a recipe for success here.
Yeah, definitely not. So yeah, I think like you said, the exterior of that offensive line combined with the rest of the playmakers, I just don't know if there's enough right now. Like I said, I think I said on Sunday, if Dallas is able to add another receiver, maybe a Devontae Adams, and get DeRon Bland back, I think I could talk myself into this team turning it around. But I just think there's such glaring weaknesses right now that it's just too difficult to overcome. You're relying way too much on star talent, which this team does do a lot over the years. But I think over the last couple of years when they've been fairly consistent, it's because the role players, the secondary players had really stepped up and played well. And I just don't know if those guys are playing well enough right now, especially with Micah Parsons out. I just don't know if there's enough on that defense.
I agree. I think just again, listen, to be clear, I'm picking the Steelers to win, but just kind of playing devil's advocate. Um, Again, we're relying on another Justin Fields game, and he's played
Hmm.
well this season, played very well this season. But we're relying on him once again being able to. Can he take advantage, I guess, of this weak Cowboys secondary? I think that's, and not just him, can this passing attack in general, which is very still. Listen, Calvin Austin's been making plays, but like it still is George Pickens dependent to some degree. Can it,
Yeah.
can it take advantage the way that it needs to?
No, I mean, I agree. Like, it's never 100% comfortable picking the Steelers, although I probably should have taken that advice for myself last week.
Uh-huh.
Um, look, they play, it's a style of play that has a small margin for error, right? Like, I feel like I say this a lot, but it's a small margin for error because you're trying to play mistake-free football. You're trying to play in the trenches. You're trying to play, win this game with field time of possession, that kind of thing. It just lends itself to something crazy happening, and then all of a sudden you lose a winnable game, or something crazy happening and you win a losable game. Like, that's just kind of the brand of football it is right now. And unless Justin Fields plays like he did in the second half of last week, that's kind of what the Steelers are every week in and week out. So I just think there is an opportunity for an upset here, and I think Dallas still has enough talent to make it happen.
Yeah, I think so. Kyle, my last thought on this game, one of the all-time uniform matchups.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think
Although
the
it's not
history to
in,
have and everything.
yeah, it's not in Dallas though, so we're gonna get the Cowboy blue. It's better with the
Uh-huh.
Cowboy white, right?
Yeah, it's definitely better in Dallas, but I think it'll still be it'll be I think kind of fun seeing it in Pitts. I feel like, for whatever reason, I feel like every memory I have of these two teams is in Dallas.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be a fun game though. That's the Sunday night game. I think it could be an interesting one. Even if they're the Cowboys have gone off to a bad start, we'll see if they can. I'm really excited for a Cowboys primetime game. This one I'm interested in.
Yeah, 100%. I'm 100%. So this should be fun.
Yes. Let's move on, Kyle. Give me a game.
All right. This may be early, but I think there's upset potential. I'm not wavering on this. I think this is a good team. I think this is another playing a team that has kind of struggled this season. Saints at Chiefs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so the Chiefs are 5-point favorites. I get why you're picking this because I think the Saints are an underrated team. I think that they played really well last week and kind of due to a couple fluky touchdowns ended up losing. I also get what you're saying in the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are maybe not as good as some people think they are. Again, I think a lot of people's analysis on the Chiefs is they're the Chiefs that are going to win every game, which isn't horrible analysis, but also I do think there is some concern about this Chiefs offense going up against this Dennis Allen defense. I also think there is potential for the Saints to be able to run the ball. In fact, you could easily talk yourself into an argument for the Saints winning this game, but I don't care. It's the Chiefs. I'm still picking the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think it's true. There are a lot of arguments for it. That being said, so my biggest concern, and it's, to be fair, a major concern. My biggest concern is Chris Jones and this Chiefs defensive line just demoralizing this Saints offensive line, which is not very good. We've touched on the Saints offensive line basically since the preseason. It's not a good offensive line. I will say the rookie Fuaga has been okay this season. I think he's been solid, and their center Lucas Patrick has been good. Outside of that, just not a good offensive line. Trevor Penning continues to just be a penalty machine, all that kind of stuff. It's not a good group. So that is the concern. That's where the Chiefs win, is they dominate up front, which they have all season. That's what they do. That being said, we've seen at times this secondary get a little tested and mixed results so far. I think they've looked very good in a couple games against like the Chargers and Ravens, which don't really have the outside receivers. New Orleans definitely has the outside receivers, and Derek Carr has hit those outside receivers very well this season. He's thrown very good balls. Rashid Shaheed has hit a couple big plays. Chris Olave has been steady, even though he's not been as productive because I think he's getting a lot more attention this season. So I think those guys on the outside can win some one-on-one battles if the Chiefs play aggressive and try and attack this offensive line. I think that's my argument. On the flip side, I think this defense has been very good. It's very well coached. They should get Demario Davis back this week too, who they didn't have last week even. And I think Demario Davis is an excellent coverage linebacker. So We'll see how he does against Travis Kelce. I think that's kind of the big play X factor of this week because I don't know what Kansas City's offense is going to look like now without Rashee Rice. How do they attack this defense if Demario Davis is able to cover Travis Kelce? That's going to be the fascinating aspect, and that's why I think there could be an upset this week.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I do. I think that there is. I mean, again, I know it's kind of you could argue it's lazy analysis, but it's still it's hard to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I do think that there could be a lot of the Steve Spagnuolo blitzing against this team does just concern me. If I'm a Saints fan, I don't know exactly how this offensive line is built to handle that. The offensive line played very good weeks 1 and 2, has not looked good since then.
Yeah. Like I said, it is definitely a concern. But at the same time, like, if they manage to contain the blitz a couple times, they have receivers that can win on the outside. So I think that's kind of what I'm talking myself into for New Orleans. And to use one of your arguments, based on the way these two teams have played this season, 4-1 and 3-2 seems to make a lot of sense. And I still just kind of maintain that this Saints team is too good of a team to keep finding ways to lose. They just need to stay out of their own way a little bit in some of these clutch moments, but I think they're good enough to beat this team.
Oh, Kyle, when will you learn?
We will see. We will see. I'll be wrong on this Saints team until the end of the season. I was completely out on this team preseason. I saw them weeks 1 and 2. I was all in, and then I'm just going to be as soon as I get off, they'll be good again. So we'll see.
Yeah, it should be a very fun Monday night game. Let's move on. Time for me to give you a game. Couple areas I could go with here. I think I'm going to give you Panthers at Bears. There is a it's an interesting one because the Panthers have looked better with Andy Dalton. Caleb Williams has started to play better, but I think there still is that concern of could things go haywire. Kyle, who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, I got the Bears. I think this defense is the best unit in this game, and it's played very well. And like for all the the poor play of Caleb Williams has been talked about a lot. I think the last 2 weeks at minimum, or at least last week, he's been very risk averse. He hasn't made like the back-breaking play, it feels like. So I think he's going to be able to do that again this week. I do think the Panthers secondary can make some plays. So that is the compelling aspect of that. But I don't think he's going to get pressured a whole lot in this game. And I think if he has a little bit more time to throw, I think he can make some plays. So I got the Bears here, and I think it comes down to the defense.
Yeah. Well, 100% he will be pressured in this game, but it won't be because of quick pressures. It will just be because he likes to hold on to the ball for a while, which is part of his game. But you're right. The Panthers pass rush has not been great this season. Clowney's probably been their best player, but he hasn't been great this year. So they don't have a ton of pass rush there. I don't know. This is the Panthers defense isn't a great defense. Like this is a game that Caleb Williams should be able to show what he can do. The one thing I would say as well, though, everyone's been talking about Caleb Williams being disappointing. We can say like the offense for the Bears in general has been disappointing, right? And I don't know how much of that has been just Caleb Williams, but like DJ Moore, Romeo Odunze, and Keenan Allen were supposed to be stars. None of them has looked like a star to start the season.
Yeah, Odunze has shown flashes, and I think all of them honestly have shown flashes, but it hasn't been enough. And especially for guys like Allen and Moore who have been in the league for a long time. You expect a lot more for lifting a young quarterback. Now, is it just Caleb's not reading the game enough and trying to do too much and trying to make these crazy long extended plays and like DJ Moore and Keenan Allen aren't like getting the opportunities? Maybe, but I think a lot of it is also they haven't played their best yet. So maybe a lot of this is just the offense hasn't clicked yet, and that's going to play a big part. But I am fascinated to see what happens if it does start clicking, and then we'll evaluate it from there.
Yeah. Are we? I mean, how do we feel about this Panthers team against the Bears? Secondary's been very good this year. Bears have had some and this defense in general has been very good to start this season. It's kept them in some games. Can Andy Dalton solve this Bears defense?
Not by himself, but I will say like Johnson has had a couple good games now, and the rookie Leggetti, showed some stuff last week, and that's probably what you want to talk yourself into is maybe these guys get themselves open and help them out. But this Bears defense has played a lot better offenses than this and looked very good, including that Texans offense. So Yeah, I think that there is a I think they got their hands full this week for sure. And then Thomas Gage brings up an excellent point here. By the way, this punter's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
this guy might swing the game himself. Like honestly, like not only is his defense really good, but if you're gonna pin them inside the 5 yard line every time, no matter where you're punting from, yeah, that's a bit of a problem too. I think for Carolina, this guy's gonna swing the game. It's Big Ten football.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. I guess the Panthers still have Johnny Hecker. Who knew? He's still in the league.
Yeah. He's like Justin Tucker now. He's not quite a Tory Taylor anymore. This guy's amazing.
Well, what are the Panthers doing? You have Johnny Hecker, and you're not running fake punts, and you had Bryce Young. Like that should be a fireable offense right there.
Should they put Johnny Hecker in over Bryce Young?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is that on those fourth downs, they should have let Hecker play. On third downs, even go out for do the old like in Madden when you do a fake punt on like second down, and the computer didn't know to like still just run a regular defense.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts on this one?
No. Let's move on.
All right, Kyle, give me a game.
All right, I think I know where you're leaning here for your lock, so I'm gonna make you sit on that one for a little bit. Let's go Packers at Rams.
Okay, Packers Rams. Yeah, a game where listen, last week on the Sunday night show, I said I'm out on the Rams. I'm still out on the Rams. I can't be in on the Rams if I said I was out on them. I'm going to pick the Packers. I mean, this has to be a get right game for Jordan Love, who has played twice this season and hasn't looked great in either game. I think this will be the Rams. Again, we talk about their offense being so depleted. Their defense just isn't great. It just isn't. And, the one thing they can kind of do is they have a little bit of guys who can rush the passer, but not against this Packers offensive line. They won't be able to, I don't think. So you have that. And then, I mean, again, it's just going to come down to can Matthew Stafford pull another rabbit out of his head? Shout out Jason Witten. It's possible, but I'm not betting on it.
Yeah, I think that's the right play too. So how concerned are you if Jordan Love looks bad in this game again?
I mean, concerned. Like, I think if I'm a Packers fan, I'm a little concerned now. Not that like I think he stinks. I don't think he stinks. Like, even these first two games, I think he's shown flashes and can be like a solid player. Like he made good plays in both weeks 1 and weeks 4. The concern is like you already have paid him this big money. Like Jaden Daniels can have a couple bad games and whatever. You have 4 years now of cheap Jaden Daniels. Like you don't have any. Like this is. You're paying him, I think, like $30 million this year, and then it's going to be balloon up as it gets further down the road. Like he needs to be great now if this team is going to be a legit contender.
Yeah. No, I agree. They need it to happen for sure. I think the other interesting aspect of this game, like the Packers defense has been kind of weird this year, right? And like I still think it's better than it was the season before and during the Joe Barry tenure. But as you pointed out last week, like they put themselves in some weird matchup situations and just like don't really care about like where their best players are lining up sometimes, like Eric Stokes against Justin Jefferson. And like, there is an opportunity for Sean McVay to just kind of make it look silly, right? And like Sean McVay and Stafford, even with the way they move guys around. And like, I could see this being like a big, like, oh, Tutu Atwell only had 2 catches, but they're for like 85 yards and 2 touchdowns kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that happening. I think that the Packers defense has made plays as well. Again, I think Jair Alexander has been like fully back this year. But like, I get what you're saying. We're like, there's been some of that questionable stuff. Xavier McKinney's really brought a lot to this secondary as well. But yeah, I mean, that's a concern. And also like Rashawn Gary hasn't been great this year. And like, they haven't had the consistent pass rush that we've seen them have in previous years. So they'll still get some pass rush because they're playing the Rams. But like, you might not get the dominant pass rush that other teams have gotten.
Yeah, and Stafford's going to make the right throws. He's going to make the right reads. That we rely on him for that. It's just there is a huge talent gap still, and I think with the way Green Bay still has the talent, which what we expect from Love, and the way these receivers have played, honestly, because between Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, all these guys, they played very well too. So I think Green Bay should to get this done pretty easily.
We have a chat of this is an important week for Love. No slippy field, not first start off injury to prove he's more than the next Favre. I've seen this take a few times of like, oh, he's like Brett Favre instead of Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre won 3
I
MVPs and
know.
a Super Bowl. What is this revisionist history that Brett Favre was like a mediocre quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, he's like clearly a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, he's a weird guy for sure. Obviously,
sure.
not a bit controversial of a figure, but I mean, quarterback wise, yes, there were some crazy plays, but he was also fantastic.
Yeah.
You definitely took the bad with the amazing for Brett Favre.
Yeah, if Jordan Love is only Brett Favre, that's a win for everyone. Everyone that's a Packers fan should be thrilled.
Yeah, I would say I agree.
Yes, but yeah, yeah, I don't mean to call you out, the person who commented it, because I've seen that a lot. Okay, I'm gonna give you a game. So you're trying to give me a lock, but there's actually a couple games I feel okay locking. So I think I'm gonna just give you Bucks at Falcons.
Okay, yeah, I did think this was your walk.
Mhm.
I'm assuming it
And it
was your
was,
first
yeah.
choice. Listen, I have continued to say I don't think this Falcons team, similar to what I said about the Texans, I don't think this Falcons team's quite right despite the wins. And I think this Bucks team is very good despite the Denver game. I don't know what happened there. That's the weird game of the year. At least the Jets have the weather as an excuse. The Bucks just didn't show up.
Mhm.
So yeah, give me the Bucks. I think they're the better team. I think they should win this one. I don't get the line. Obviously, Thursday nights can be a little weird. But yeah, I think they're the better team, and I think they should win. And give me your thoughts.
Yeah, and Kyle, I had this whole thought. I was going to have this whole like speech prepared where I was going to talk about how sometimes Bucks fans critique me for not being like super like into my team. I feel like I try to have more of a nuanced discussion when it comes to my team, so I don't get like too rah, and I'll complain about certain aspects of them maybe more than they would like. And so I was going to be like, well, here's me doing the opposite. I'm going to lock up my team, and then you ruined it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Why were you going to lock him
win.
up? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you going to lock him up?
Well, I kind of feel like they're just a better team right now. I think that the Falcons defense is very good, but I also feel like Baker Mayfield has legitimately been great through 4 weeks. I know the Denver game wasn't great, but 3 out of these 4 weeks he's played fantastic. I do kind of trust the Buccaneers to get enough going offensively in the passing game, and then I also think that all of a sudden, this Buccaneers secondary has played really well. They have Vita Vea back. They're getting healthy again. Kyle, a stat I tweeted out today, the PFF's current number 1 corner in football, Zion McCollum. How about that? So I don't know. I'm buying into this team. I actually still think the Falcons are pretty good, but I like the Buccaneers more right now. And it's only all they would have to do is win. That's a big part of it too. Why I would lock them up.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. The Zion McCollum renaissance has been something. Mm-hmm. I do think the secondary's played well, and has Winfield even played this season at all?
I believe he played week 1, if I remember correctly. But,
he hasn't played a lot. Yeah. So not even they don't have their best secondary player out there, and they've played this well. So that's been impressive. I think that they do a lot of stuff right. And then I think the biggest aspect of what I liked about this matchup too, even just beyond I think the Bucks are good, and I think the Falcons might just be okay, is the aspect of what we've seen from this Tampa Bay offense in their quick passing game has been impressive, and especially saw it last week. And I think the one thing you can get yourself in trouble with this Falcons team is A, that Matthew Judon has played very well, and B, this secondary, especially the deep secondary with these safeties, has played very well. I think they're going to continue to do the same thing they did last week, get the ball out quickly, look for Chris Godwin, and then they're going to pick their spots where they're going to play Mike Evans over the top of that. So I think that's probably the play, and I think Tampa Bay has the personnel to run it too.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something interesting as well about the Buccaneers having seen the Falcons a lot, but the Falcons having kind of a new regime, a new coaching regime. Will they be able to kind of know some of these details? Again, the players know. So you still have that, but I mean, we saw last year, the first game, Tampa Bay wasn't able to get a ton going offensively. Baker was still kind of finding his footing in Tampa Bay. The second game, Baker was great in it. The offense really rolled. They figured something out. The question is, can Atlanta kind of Can they, I'm sure they're going to watch that game again, and can they figure out maybe different things to do this one?
Yeah, there is aspects to that for sure. And then, I mean, I feel like a lot of this also has to come down to Kirk Cousins has to play better, right? Like, as much as if Kirk Cousins plays like the way we expect, obviously it's been a bit of a slow start. Like, Atlanta has enough talent on offense that they should be able to move the ball on almost anybody. And yeah, I think that needs to improve too. And, I don't think he's been very good and he's not very mobile. So like maybe the Buccaneers can get after him too. I think there's a lot of aspects of that as well.
Yeah. One of the good things and one of the ways Atlanta could win this game is Tampa Bay. Yes, Vita Vea being back helps. I still don't love this pass rush if they're not blitzing. I think they will try and blitz in this game, but 4-on-5, I think that this is the massive, even though Atlanta is much better of a run blocking team than a pass blocking team, I still think this is a mismatch.
Yeah, I agree. It should be a fascinating game though. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Kyle, I have one thing to mention as well. I saw on the Falcons subreddit people talking about maybe Algier should be the starter.
Tyler Algier? Oh man.
Yeah, maybe Algier over Bijan. I mean, I was the one in on this first, and I think Bijan's been really good this year actually. But they got two really good running backs.
Yeah, they do. It's definitely a luxury position, which is maybe why you don't use it for the 8th overall pick.
Maybe, but hey, can win you some games. Kyle, let's move on. Give me a game.
I guess Browns at Commanders.
Okay.
Go for it.
Let's lock up the balls, why don't we? I'm all in on this Jaden Daniels experience. And just how can you trust this Cleveland team at this point on top of it? Kyle, look at EPA per play offensively. Currently, so the Ravens are third. They're at 0.137. The Bills second, 0.172. The Washington Commanders, 0.317. They're nearly double the number 2 ranked team right now. This offense is on fire. Yes, Cleveland has defenders, but the secondary hasn't played great to start this year. There's been windows, I feel like. And again, how can you bet against Jaden Daniels right now? I think the concern is that as good as the Washington offense has been, the defense has been equally bad. But I just don't trust Deshaun Watson to take advantage of it.
Yeah. No, I do not. Or not enough to at least to keep up with this Balls team, right? So, yeah, I think that it feels pretty easy at that point. Myles Garrett still isn't practicing from the latest reports, so like I don't expect him to play either, which puts this Browns defense even in a bigger hole. And yeah, I think optically, these two teams couldn't be more polar opposite, right? Like everyone's in on Washington, everyone's out on Cleveland. And yet the line's 3.5. So obviously that there is some suspect there. Obviously Cleveland has plenty of talent on paper, you think, to compete with them, but they haven't played well. So they haven't played well all season, and Washington has played terrifically. So I am on the right side of this. Obviously the 3.5 would be interesting because it could come down to a field goal potentially, but that would also require Cleveland to score points, which I don't know if they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing you could look at for Cleveland is their tackle play has been so bad due to injuries to start this year. Washington doesn't really have great edge rushers, right? You have some good guys up the middle, but when it comes to edge rushers, that's where they struggle. Could we just have, could Cleveland have more time in this one?
Potentially, but Washington's probably going to have to throw some blitzes at them, right? They gotta at least put pressure on it. I think the issue with Washington right now is their defense isn't particularly good at anything. And so I think they got to find a way to just like at least be good at stopping something, take away the run, blitz the passer, something like that. Because they are bleeding yards, although they did play very well last week. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I mean, there is an interesting aspect there for sure.
Yeah, I guess my logic is essentially you look at EPA per play, which is not the end all be all by any means, but you look at that. Okay, Washington is first offensively and they're worst defensively. The Browns are 13th defensively, but they're second worst offensively. So my logic is kind of like, well, you're both good at one thing and bad at one thing. At least Washington is great at the thing they're good at. Cleveland is just kind of like solid at the thing they're good at, which is playing defense right now.
Yeah. Not to mention they've had a quarterback that's played flawless football and the Browns quarterback is basically just lawless. So I don't know.
Yeah. Let's move on. Why don't we, Kyle? Let's see. So this right, my turn to give you a game. There's two left. We got Commanders, 49ers, and Giants, Seahawks. I think, again, I had some success giving you a divisional matchup last week. I think I'm just going to do it again. I'll give you Cardinals, 49ers.
Yeah, I think it's the right play. Just because this Cardinals team it didn't look good last week, obviously, but on the right day, it's looked frisky. But San Francisco's slowly getting their guys back. I know Christian McCaffrey's still not back, but they had their full offensive weaponry last week. It looked pretty good. Granted, New England's not very good. But that being said, this Cardinals defense still probably isn't up to scratch, I think. So, give me the 49ers. I still feel pretty good about it, and I would probably bet them to cover right now.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much going in San Francisco's favor. I mean, this offense on paper should be able to just score touchdowns every drive. Like, this shouldn't be a difficult game to put up points for them. I think the 49ers defense has played really well to start this year as well. So you have kind of, they're a really good team. They might win the Super Bowl. They're that good.
Yeah.
I think the one way you look at this is, and we kind of saw it against the Rams, is like, could you just get a great quarterback performance? And Kyler Murray is the kind of guy who, it doesn't matter what the situation is, you can never say he's for sure going to lose a football game.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, the tough thing is, like, even with the great 49ers defensive line, he's the kind of guy that can just kind of ruin that. Like, he has that ability in him, but it's so hard to, like, project Arizona, because it's like, on the days Kyler's locked in and looks great, it looks awesome. We've seen that twice this season. On the days where it's doesn't quite click, not all the way, it struggles, and we've seen that twice this season. So, ideally, you'd like to find eventually some sort of middle ground there to where you're not seeing those negative performances, but he has the ability to rise to the occasion and kind of disrupt any defense.
What's kind of been lost, I think, on this season is, so we did all the Brock Purdy stuff last year of like, wow, look at these numbers, but also like, okay, he's Brock Purdy, like they're not really winning because of him. I think he's playing really well this year. Like, I think he's taken a next step, and no one's talking about that at all, because that's, we already made our minds up about Purdy.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? It feels like it happens all the time. Like, he's just continually developing. Kind of like a Brady. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you did, I think EPA, I think he's 5th, right? Or 4th. No, he's actually 3rd. Excuse me. So he's 3rd among quarterbacks. Among the top 5 also, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, and Jaden Daniels, just as we predicted. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous what he's doing right now. And I think he's been phenomenal too. I agree.
Yeah. So, hey, it's not crazy to think that the 49ers could get better quarterback play in this game, which would have been, I think, crazy to say last year.
Yeah. At least with the healthy Kyler, for sure. But Kyler's been right in that conversation. I think he is 8th right now in EPA for quarterbacks, if I'm looking at that right.
Sure. And EPA is also it can be a misleading stat sometimes, because it's essentially a team stat, right? Because like all it's factoring in, it's similar to passer rating, which it's just better passer rating essentially. But yeah, both been very good. I just think there's too much firepower for this 49ers team, but who knows? Kyle, you want to go on to the final game?
Yeah. Who are you picking, Giants or Seahawks?
It's tough. It's a tough one. I am picking Seattle. I'll say this about the Giants. I don't think they've been horrible this year. I don't think they're good, but like, Daniel Jones has played solid. I think they've gotten like contributions on defense, which you don't usually get from them. And Malik Neighbors has obviously really changed this team a lot. But again, I can't pick them to beat Seattle. I just think that, unless Malik Neighbors just has this incredible day, which Seattle's covered really well this season outside of playing against the Lions. So like, I think that they could do okay here in this one. I just think that I think that this offense for Seattle really should be able to, have its way with this Giants defense.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. This is no Detroit offense, so I don't expect the Giants to do exactly what Detroit did last week. So I agree. I'm with you all the way, and I think we'll get a couple cool neighbors moments that make it a little bit interesting. But the way Seattle's moving the ball right now, it's hard to bet against them against a bad team like this.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know what the way for the Seahawks to pull this one off, or the Giants to pull this one off is, I guess. I mean, is it just the good old, because the thing is, like, at least you could do the whole good old fashioned, let's just run the ball a bunch and try and win that way. But I don't think that's a good way for them to put up points. Yes, you can limit. Maybe they just start to Malik Neighbors and just hope he catches every pass, and run out the clock that way in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a chance that they can score. Like, I think the offense has looked a lot better the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the Cleveland game, they kind of got silenced after the first half, but that first half was really good. I think they looked better last week too. So maybe they could score some points, make this interesting, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. With the play of Jackson Smith and Jigba, how have you reevaluated the Seahawks receiving core? Like, do you now, like, I mean, it's obviously been very good for a long time, but Smith and Jigba's now the clear cut number 2 guy, it feels like. And Lockett is still a very dependable third option. That has to be put in the elite categories now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it was like borderline elite before he took this next step forward. So, like, yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, he's the quote unquote third option in terms of scheme, like the plays, like, because he's just a slot guy. But you're right. Like, I feel like they're targeting him more on key plays more than targeting Lockett. And I think Lockett's still playing just as good as he ever has. I don't think it's because he's taken a step back. It's just that Smith and Jigba has played really well. And Kyle, they even have another former number 1 wide receiver, Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, just too many luxury items there, I think. But yeah, I mean, the Smith and Jigba thing's been fascinating. They're moving him all around the field. They're getting him in almost every situation they want, and he's just been a matchup disadvantage for the other team.
Yeah. I mean, you have the, Kenneth Walker thing where he's just, been fantastic since coming back. Zach Charbonnet is good. Like, there's so many weapons. And, like I said, like, this defense is, like, this secondary is really good. I mean, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, the safety combo of Julian Love and Rayshon Jenkins, both are top 15 in PFF grades at the start of the year. Like, this is a really good coverage unit. So, like, there's a lot to like about the Seattle team. I think, hey, one of my hot takes was I was higher on the Seahawks than most. I feel pretty good about that right now.
Yeah, they look good. I just think the Detroit game got away from them, and that may be just a talent gap that can't be overcome. But I think they can beat a lot of teams in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's it. So, Kyle, let them know they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. If you're very confused because you've been watching us for 8 minutes, we started the show an hour early. That's why we're ending it right now. But you can go back and watch if you want. But yeah, Kyle, that's it. Now we can go. There's postseason baseball on. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to talk about. A lot of sports going on. Champions League soccer today was terrific too. I know you don't watch, but pretty cool stuff.
Well, I'm happy all the Champions League soccer fans are happy. Well, I guess not all of them.
No, not all of them.
Yeah.
Rough day for La Liga.
Gotcha. Well, also a rough day for the Astros.
Did they lose today?
Yes, the Astros are out. First team out of the playoffs.
Brutal.
Couldn't
happen to a better team.
Yeah, can't help but feel bad for them. Again, thank you to everybody for watching. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts?
No, let's get out of here.
Okay, let's get out of here. We'll see you again on, it feels nice, the shorter show on, I feel like we're missing something, but no, it's just there's less games to talk about.
Yeah, 2 less games. So it'll continue to get a little shorter throughout the year, and then we'll ramp back up for playoffs.
Yes, again, thank you to everybody for watching or listening. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.